Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Isnet podcast. I'm your host Sadaf Sajat and today's episode is titled Biotechnology in Space Creating the Future of Medicine and Health. Space exploration is not just about rockets and satellites. It's also about understanding the biology of life beyond Earth. Biotechnology in space is unlocking new ways to safeguard astronaut health while also providing breakthrough that can improve medicine here on Earth. To discuss this fascinating frontier, we are joined by Dr. Madhia Rashid, an accomplished astrobiologist, space life scientist, and aerospace medicine researcher. She holds a PhD in biomedical engineering from the Beijing Institute of Technology, where she is now a postdoctoral fellow and principal investigator of a Beijing Natural Science Foundation funded project. Dr. Madhya, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. Welcome to this episode of ISNET.
Thank you so much, Sada, for your invitation, and I'm excited for this discussion.
Likewise, Dr. Madhya. So, to begin, could you share a little about your journey into biotechnology and how that path eventually connected to space research?
Well, my journey is actually a blend of curiosity, fascination, and inspiration. I actually get introduced with biotechnology during my college time, where my teacher told me biotechnology is the field where you can utilize the living organisms to produce the products that can be beneficial for living things. So this is something that really hit me so hard, and I decided why not to pursue my career in this field. So that was the point, and that was the time that I decided, and that my journey started actually from that lecture. And in my BS, based on my curiosity, I worked on the identification of biotechnological important compound for drug delivery potential, isolated from marine microorganism. But that was not the what I can say, ending or to satiate my research curiosity. In my master's, my curiosity deepened more, and I was captivated how the DNA and RNA usually regulate the function of the whole body, and either from the development to disease pathogenesis. So these were the few things in my research on the Ethiosis family, which is a genetic disorder, and in that I have discovered some novel mutations. So these were the things that keep on triggering my research intuition in me. And when I come across about the space life sciences, like how space studies impact human health and how the space conditions are usually used as a model for this space studies, that actually was the movement that I decided, because there are various disorders that are still under investigations, and we are still not able to identify their therapeutics. So to identify their therapeutics, we need some kind of model that are much more extra based than on Earth. So space conditions usually provide us an ideal environment where the living mechanisms behave very differently than the Earth. And for example, some disorders or some living mechanisms which takes decades to develop, in space it takes few weeks to develop. So this is one of the space conditions, or one of the ideal environment to identify or investigate something which is still unknown to us. And this was my fascination for joining the space study. And I did my PhD in this, and then postdoc. So this is all about my brief journey, how biotechnology takes me towards the avenue of space life sciences. And so I can say biotechnology is doorstep, door for me, and space life sciences actually push me to identify the answers of something really unknown to me and other people.
Dr. Madhya, it's really inspiring to hear how biotechnology became a gateway for you into space research and astronaut health. So, my next question is, many people might not realize that space biotechnology research has already held real world benefits. If you can highlight some examples where discoveries from space have translated into advances in healthcare or diagnostics here on Earth.
Well, that's a very fascinating question. But let me tell you, the space conditions are entirely different from the Earth, and the behavior of living body, even at the submolecular level, is entirely different than on Earth. And based on the outcomes of the space conditions and the space environment, from the different experimental evidences that really prove to be worthy for the people on Earth and beneficial for the people on Earth. So let me quote you a few of the examples, but initially I would like to tell you, like, space conditions usually access an excellent laboratory because they compress the biological mechanism, time of biological mechanism in case of disease progression, much more shorter than what we achieve in decades on Earth. But in space, we achieve that particular processes within weeks or even months. So space conditions or experiments performed in space conditions turn out to be very much beneficial in case of identifying some therapeutics for various disorders. So let me quote you one of the very interesting example of one of the cancer drug, Kertuba, which was usually administered as an IV drip to the cancer patients. And one of the problem with this drug was that its active compounds usually formed lumps, some lumps like crystals that causes difficulty for the doctors to manage and usually administered as IV drip. But when this drug was sent into the space station due to the microgravity effects, the crystals reorganize themselves and turns themselves into a very uniform crystal morphology that gives a new avenue to the scientists, like how we can utilize this kind of crystal formation. And using that idea, now the drug has been modified and it is now used as injectable form that can be easily handled for doctors and as well as for patients. Another example is like for the bone loss is very much evident in space conditions. And usually astronaut experiences about 1 to 2% bone loss within a month. And this is one of the very big challenge for the space missions, even in the long-term space mission. But a series of studies have been performed. I would like to mention quote one of the study over here. A few samples of mice were flown to the International Space Station, and those mouse were treated with some drug. And with that drug, mice actually not only resisted the bone loss, but actually they have gained the bone density. So see, the microgravity conditions you access a dual sword for the biological system. On one hand, they are taking the biological mechanisms towards a pathogenicity at a very faster rate, but on the other hand, we are getting to the some adaptive mechanism where we can get the various therapeutics, even test the various therapeutics from this. And results from these experiments, especially for the bone density, that can be utilized for the patient on earth suffering from the osteoporosis. Similarly, if you go for the cancer, microgravity acts as an excellent tool for the microgravity conditions, like it usually it is acts as a dual sword. And in microgravity conditions, scientists have observed like the cancer cells have started developing into 3 dimensions, like 3D spheroids, and same like the tumors that are present inside human body. But here on Earth, when we grow the tumor cells in the laboratory condition, they grow in flat-like structures of petri dishes, right? But in space conditions, they actually grow like a real tumor. And testing the drug on those tumors out to be very much beneficial for the people on Earth suffering from cancer. So, in short, space technology is not just fascination; it's actually bringing about terms for various problems.
Wow, it's remarkable to see how space research translates directly into, everyday healthcare. And the examples that you shared, they highlight why investment in space science matter far beyond astronauts. They definitely touch lives here on Earth too. So, moving on to our next question, one exciting area is how microgravity helps us better understand diseases. You discussed about cancer, and then there is osteoporosis and neurodegeneration. So, how can space biotechnology give us new insights into these conditions? You have shared a bit about this in our previous question, and if you can elaborate more.
Yeah, thank you so much. No problem. Basically, there are a series of experiments are being performed because every day, every second, files of information increasing in megabytes, right? Similarly, this also increasing. People are getting much more using this space, like mentioned, like cancer studies, the means form is different or an organization that to be very much beneficial. And similarly for muscle mass as well as bone density, things are much progressive. And now for the bone for the bone mass, usually different advanced studies are being performed. Bone on chip model being used, like using animals. Bone on chip models are you provide a quicker result for therapeutics used for the osteoporosis. I didn't discuss about the neurodegeneration in detail, but tell you one thing very, like, because my work in neurodegenerative diseases and how the brain function space conditionally astronauts a lot of changes and cognitive deficit conditions. If we about 60% actually experience depressive symptoms in patients, and using this and getting this brain, even from here on, a big challenge. Getting the brain samples is an easy thing. And for that have been developed the devices first developed for space missions. Later on, these chip models have been used for various test drugs, and let me tell you something. I would like to share some of my studies results come across during my PhD. I studied about the depressed astronaut space missions using the RAN. We uses the simulated conditions, and across we studied regions, and we was like the cortex, which is the biggest sub region of it usually masks the it exhibits the protective mask or protect others like hippocampus or striatum, and we find if the hippos or the other space regions are the degenerative, the cortex started producing mechanisms and chemicals to protect, to overcome the damage of brain. So that study we have identified therapeutic and neuromarkers. So like space something that can mimic serious disorders that takes decades on Earth, but on space condition find their solution within maybe months. So, in short, like space conditions, my for the research, really interested in or dealing with the bizarre various things that are still every one of us.
Dr. Madhya, the way you explain it makes space sound like the perfect laboratory for studying all these human borne diseases. And I think by stripping away the factor of gravity, researchers are uncovering this biological processes in ways that aren't possible on Earth. My next question is that I heard while searching about this topic, I came across NASA's bionutrients experiment. So this experiment is exploring the idea of producing medicines like insulin or growth hormones directly in orbit. How feasible do you think biomanufacturing of pharmaceuticals in space really is?
Basically, the concept of bionutrients is actually carrying a mini pharmacy in your backpack. The concept introduced by bionutrients by NASA is actually a great proof of concept, and they sent dried yeast to the International Space Station, where an astronaut introduces water and various nutrients to that dried yeast, and it's surprisingly it started growing and producing the bionutrients like beta carotene that can be consumed directly. So what was fascinating in that idea is like the years stored organisms like those or yeast packs that have been stored since years can be revived biologically and become active even after years in orbit. And this gives an actually a concept like how we can produce the various medicines in future on demand. And actually it also cut this also helped to for the long-term space mission where resupply from the earth is really a big challenge. But your question regarding the insulin and some complex biological products, it actually because if I talk about the insulin, it requires a complex folding of protein, right? And that requires some very sophisticated bioreactors and quality control system. Till date, in orbit, practicing these kinds of or producing these kinds of complex molecules is little challenging, but starting from the simpler or basic molecules, I think so space biomanufacturing can be possible in near in future. But yes, if we get an automated and some good bioreactors for in future, so producing medicines or producing the biological active compounds in space or biopharmaceuticals or biomanufacturing could be a real-term reality in future.
That indeed opens such a fascinating possibility. And now I would
Yeah.
like to congratulate you once again on being recognized as an IAF emerging leader, emerging space leader. So, looking ahead, how do you see international collaborations driving space biotechnology research forward, especially for countries in the global south?
Thank you so much, Sadaf. It was given me in 2024, and that was really a prestigious honor for me to be recognized for my contribution in the space sector. And I believe like it's really an honor for me, but not because of recognition, because of the peers I come across or experiences I come across, because that was the IF platform is actually a platform where you come across people from diversified space backgrounds, and in one platform you are getting people from the space policy, space laws, or life sciences, or space aerospace engineering. And now the world is globalized, and the space is for everyone. And the problem regarding space or is a problem for everyone, right? Because space is for everyone. So, and I believe like that's a platform that actually connect people from different space sectors and brings about the solution for any problem. Because for any problem or any space mission, you cannot one country or one laboratory working in isolation cannot produce things unless and until it has some collaboration, some people with experts from all around the world, and they have their own perspectives. Like in my case, uh, this also I experienced during my COVID time, during my PhD, when I come across challenge. In COVID, the world was, stuck and everything was, we were bound to our homes, and doing work at home is really challenging because life sciences that demands experimentation and all that. So making collaborations, connecting with the people, connecting with the experts, bring about the solutions for the problems, and this is how we continue. And I believe, using that platform, I aim to foster a young generation to connect with the people and to bring about novel ideas into a real-term solutions and examples, that, and especially for the challenges for the space mission that we experience. So in short, Space IF is a platform that I utilize as a recognition to build the bridges between nations, between disciplines, and between the generation of scientists to bring about the space biotechnology into a global reality.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Madhyas. And before we wrap up, finally, what's one thing you wish more people understood about biotechnology in space?
Well, basically, that's a very common question when I come across and when I come introduce to people like what I'm doing, and people get fascinated. But one of the common questions that I always come across: why you are working on space when so many problems on Earth? So the only answer is space conditions are actually the ideal laboratory for studying the rapid disease progression and rapid mechanisms, and these actually opens the realm of something really unknown and very amazing. So people are really curious and really wanted to identify or unknown questions. Space conditions were an ideal for them. And for a layman, I can say that space is not about just astronauts. It's about common men, because most of the scientific experiments that performed on space stations or space conditions actually bring about solutions for various disorders on Earth. So in short, it is not actually benefiting the astronauts or making possible the long-term missions. It actually making the quality of life better than before and producing a solution for the still remain for most still there. So short, I can say investing in smart technology is not about it's not about chasing a fantasy. It's about investing the discoveries that brings about this or therapeutics to the various disorders or problems on Earth, but also in art.
Thank you, Dr. Madhya. Your remarks that you shared with us are also a powerful reminder for our audience about why space biotechnology matters, not only for exploration, but for the health of people everywhere. So, to conclude today's episode, thank you, Dr. Madhya, for sharing your insights on how biotechnology in space is paving the way for healthier astronauts and transformative medical advances here on Earth. To our listener, we hope today's conversation has shown you that space is not just a distant frontier, it's a living laboratory that's reshaping the future of medicine. This has been episode 4 of the ISNET podcast. Stay tuned for more conversation. Thank you once again, Dr. Madhya, and for sparing time for this episode.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much.